Hello everybody and welcome to the classroom. Hello children, hello mums, dads, teachers. You are most welcome. My name's Mrs Considine and I'm your English writing teacher, and you're here because you are excited, ready to writers. We together communally are going to be wonderful word weavers and splendid sentence selectors. How super sentence stacking works is we will together write a story for the nation, and under my stewardship I will help and guide you and instruct you in how to make really good, precise writerly choices. I'm going to explain briefly how super sentence stacking works, and even if you've heard before, it's always wise to listen on and listen in, because I've noticed that those children who listen carefully at this part, their writing is much better. Okay, so soon after you've listened to all of the writing advice I'm giving you, there's something extra I'm going to ask you to do today. I'm going to ask you that you get your pencil or pen and piece of paper early on in this lesson so that you can begin to make jottings. Note down words, note down language, things that might help you when you come to do some writing. I want you to think about those jottings as though it's part of your writing journal, building your ideas so that you can think, is that word going to help me down the line? Okay, how super sentence stackers works is this. I ask you to watch a film. When I ask you to watch a film, today's is Mr Hublot. Mr Hublot lives in a futuristic metal world. There's no green left in his world. And Mr Hublot is obsessed with routines and times and doing things exactly, precisely the same way every day. It's a really interesting film because something changes that, and I want you to look closely at the whole film. When you've watched the whole film, the next thing I'm going to ask you to do is choose a chunk. And that chunk can be any one you want, from number 1 to number 9. Mrs C, oh, my poster's fallen down, how exciting. Mrs C has looked at that film and cut it up into sections. And in my mind, I have attached times to the film parts. You never have to write for the whole film, ever, ever. You have to choose your chunk. And if you look in the description below, you can see the 9 chunks and the time allocations. You choose one chunk, just one. And when it's time to write, you write within those time boundaries. That means that when you submit your work, I'll have some children writing chunk 1, some children writing chunk 2, and I choose my favourites from the pool of chunk 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 9, and I sew it all together for the nation's story. I read the story for the nation every day in the reading room at 3:30. Oh, and that is my favourite part. It really is. And I do a roll call of celebrations of the children and sometimes grown-ups who've made it into the final story. Okay. What I'm going to do now is explain exactly your writing task. Every day, you're going to be tasked to write up to 9 sentences. I'd really like to challenge you to write 9 sentences. I don't really want more than 9 sentences. You can do less, but I'm looking out for 9. The other thing I'm going to ask you to do is work on 3 writing challenges. And those writing challenges come from the Writing Rainbow. And the Writing Rainbow got so excited today, it fell off the board. So I'm just going to pin that back up quickly. And I'm going to show you here that when Mrs. C chooses challenges, she chooses them from this rainbow. Don't worry if you've not seen this rainbow before. I know many of you have got it already in your school, but don't worry if you've not seen it before. You can still be a fantastic writer in the Sentence Stackers classroom. But Mrs. C will ask you to build an idea into your story from one of the 9 ideas for writing. She'll ask you to do something for a grammar reason on the grammaristic layer of the rainbow. And finally, she will ask you to do a technique. And the sort of thing we're going to do today actually is alliteration. But I'm going to go through the 3 writing challenges in a moment. Okay. It is really important when Mrs. C starts the teaching that you make jottings, that you listen, because that's where you're going to get all the writing advice. So, in preparation for the writing, I'd like you to write your name on your piece of paper, your age, and I know some of you like to do halves and 3/4, and tell me what chunk you have chosen. That is really important, so I can put the story in the right order and embroider it all together later. Okay, that's the really important procedural information. I'm now going to move to explaining in detail today's writing challenges. Okay, number 1. Our first writing challenge is all about being able to include a complex sentence. And we're going to do that in a special way, and we're going to have a go at building a relative clause into a sentence. Now, I don't want you to panic about that because I'm going to show you how to do that. It's a relative clause starts with a comma and ends with a comma. And the relative clause we're going to be including today begins with who. I'm going to help you do that in a moment. Our second writing challenge today is all about feeling sentences. And I'm going to help you build a really evocative feeling sentence. The third writing challenge is going to be about alliteration. And that is when all words have the same sound at the beginning. Now, what chunk is Mrs. C going to write for today? Well, Mrs. C has chosen chunk 3. The other thing we need to agree in this enormous community classroom, and let me tell you, every day there are new people who come here, we need to agree on characters, character names, and that we're writing a third-person narrative. So, in your writing today, I want to see character names like Mr Hublot, that's his name. The other thing, there's another character who we have to name, who is a robot dog. A metallic, futuristic robot dog. And if you notice here, I've called him Rodog. Do you know what sort of word that is? Rodog. It's a portmanteau word. There are many portmanteau words in the English language. Well, we know the word breakfast and we know the word lunch. But sometimes, if you got up late and you missed breakfast, but you were hungry, perhaps about 11 o'clock, you might have brunch, where you take the big bruh of breakfast and the unch of lunch and you put them together and you get brunch. Well, I've taken the row of robot and the dog of dog and put them together and make row dog. And that's going to be the name of our little metallic creature today in our story. Okay, what I'm going to do now is just remind us again of our 3 writing challenges. I'm going to ask you to write a complicated sentence, a complex sentence, including an embedded little chunk beginning with the word who. But I'm going to help you with that. That's our complex sentence. The second thing we're going to do is we're going to build a very evocative feeling sentence. And I'm going to let you know now, it's going to be based on building a negative intent sentence. It's going to be quite sad. And that's how we're going to reach out to the reader. I'm going to help you do that. And then the third thing we're going to do is we're going to drench a sentence in the same sounds. And we're going to collect a sound bank of words with similar sounds at the beginning, because this will give it high connectivity, absolute interest, stickability, reader interest. And I'm going to give you some good ideas for that. Okay, what Mrs. C is going to do now is some demonstration writing. You're going to see me write some sentences for chunk 3 for Mr. Hublot. But as you watch, what I am doing as you watch is giving you words, language that you might want to jot down. I'm also showing you the writer's brain. You're able to almost have a window to my mind as I talk out loud all of my behind the scenes thinking as I build a sentence. So you will see me write, you'll see me reread, you might even see me make a few spelling mistakes. But we are in our first draft, looking, checking, and you're also going to see all the writer's thinking. I'm going to make that as visible as possible. Okay, everybody, welcome to the writing classroom, and we're going to get going with our first writing challenge, the complex sentence. Okay, chunk 3, I'm going to make sure, I'm going to start with the subject of the sentence, Mr. Hublot. And now I want the reader to really know about his personality. So here I'm going to put my comma in, and I'm going to add in a clause that tells the reader more about him. Now, when I watch that film and when you watch that film, you'll notice that actually Mr. Hublot likes to do things in the same way every day. So I want something like Mr. Hublot who liked... I need to think about a good word here. Who likes same stuff. Sounds a bit chatty, and it doesn't sound writerly enough. Same stuff, but it's that sort of idea. I'm going to go over to my thesaurus thinking board and think about it's instead of same stuff, words that mean kind of the actions that he does every day. Or I know we could have tasks. He likes the same tasks. He likes the same activities. Well, that's quite a good word. He likes the same habits. Or he has the same habits. Routines. Actually, there's quite a lot of choice there. To help me choose more precisely, I'm going to put an adjective here to really show the reader it is about the sameness that Mr Hublot really feels comforted by. I'm going to have repeated tasks, because that kind of emphasises it. Repeated tasks. Let me think. Systematic. Well, that's quite a grown-up word. Systematic activities. Rigid habits. In this same family, fixed routines. There's some good choices there. And if you're making some jottings now, you'll have some ideas for your writing. Mr Hublot, who liked, I think I'm going to have fixed routines, who liked fixed routines. Now I'm going to put my comma in, and there is my embedded dropped-in clause. Mr Hublot, who liked fixed routines, tried, because it's starting to get disturbed a little bit here, tried to keep to the, it's about pattern, it's always the same pattern. Try to keep to the same set, or maybe I don't need both of those words. Try to keep to the, maybe I don't need the same. Oh, I'm going to do a bit of editing here. Mr Hublot, who liked fixed routines, tried to keep to set daily patterns. Oh, let me reread that. Mr Hublot, who liked fixed routines, tried to keep to set daily patterns. One of the things we're going to do today to give our story global cohesion, I think it would be really clever if every now and then, almost to create some rhythm all through it, because time is so important to Mr Hublot, I think we need to just add in words to do with time or a ticking clock. The sort of thing I mean are words like this. Oh, I am having a blue tack crisis today. Time, chime. Here's another idea. Tick, tock. Here's another idea. Click, clock. They're all to do with time and rhythm. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to drop one of those in to emphasise further that it's this fixed pattern. I'm going to have, I think, tick, tock. I'm just going to tick that off. Oh, see what I did there. Tick, tock. You can steal that idea in your writing. The second writing challenge I'm going to think about now is a feeling sentence. But I want it to have a sad, a negative, evocative emotion coming through it. And what is beginning to break at Mr Hublot's regimented life is that he's noticing and listening to something outside. And actually, it's the robot dog. Something was disturbing, interrupting. Oh, I like disturbing, I think. Was disturbing his normal life, his normal, set, patterned life. full stop. And now for emphasis, I'm going to repeat this something. A something, and now I need to think about how we can really create some empathy here. A something, and when you watch the film, you'll know exactly what I'm trying to do here. A something that was cold, lonely. Oh, the poor road dog. As something that was cold, lonely, and let's get a really good finale word for the end of this sentence. I'm going to go over to my thesaurus thinking board now and gather words that really explain to the reader this is a sad time. So I'm going to think about how the road dog would be feeling now. Scared gets me going. It's okay. Fearful. Scared, fearful, all of these words in the same synonym family. Afraid. Petrified. Something that was cold, lonely, and I'm going to have petrified. Oh, poor little road dog. Really good negative feeling sentence there, Mrs. C. Well done. Right. Oh, I could put in another one of these time clues. Oh, let's have time, chime. Time, chime. That'll be really interesting, won't it? As a really clever way to join our story up across the whole of it. Yeah, really good cohesion. Alliteration. I've been thinking about this. When we're gathering words of the same sound at the beginning, they've got to be worth it. They've got to be useful for us in our story. One of the ideas I had, actually, was we could think of words, different types of words, maybe nouns, adjectives and verbs. You never know what they're actually going to be until they're in a sentence, mind. So we've got to be a bit careful with that. But I just want to share some words that begin with this sound. Shh. Okay. So, and when I show you, oh, I'm hilarious. When I show you some of these words, you're going to notice that they're all trying to create as well this sort of negative moment in the story. Have a look at these verbs. They could be used as verbs in sentences. Shuddered, shook, shivered. Have a look at these adjectives. Shocking, shameful, shoddy. Have a look at some of these words, these nouns, like shadows and shame. That could be a really good word bank to help us build a strong alliterative sentence. What I'm going to do now, though, is I'm going to choose a different sound. I'm going to have a go at building an alliterative sentence all around the sound R. So let's have a go at that. Road dog. Because this is now when Mr Hublot can really see what's happening outside. He looks actually very closely at what's happening. Road dog rumbled. Road dog, I want a word that shows he's shivering and he's metal. Oh, rattled. Road dog rattled. Road dog rattled and rusted because it's raining and he's metal. Road dog rattled and rusted amongst the rubbish. Amongst the rubbish. I wonder if I could put an adjective before rubbish that means not very nice, but I would really love it to be alliterative. Let me go over now to my thesaurus thinking board, and I'm now going to think of stinky smell words for the rubbish, but I'll only choose one, I think, if I can get it to work with the same sound. Let me think about stinky. That's not really going to work, but perhaps some words in this family. Stinking, same sort of idea. Fetid. Oh, that's a good word, Mrs. C. Putrid. Rancid. Oh, back of the net. Oh, I love that. Oh, and now it will work in my alliterative sentence. Road dog rattled and rusted amongst the rancid rubbish. Under the relentless rain. I'm going to finish with one of the time little chunks there, and I haven't used click, clock. I'm going to read this back now because I might have made some silly mistakes with spelling or punctuation or missed out a word. Mr Hublot, who liked fixed routines, tried to keep to set daily patterns. Tick, tock. Something was disturbing his normal life. A something that was cold, lonely, and petrified. Time, chime. Road dog rattled and rusted amongst the rancid rubbish under the relentless rain. Click, clock. Oh, Mrs. C, you've really impressed me today. Okay, everybody, all the children, mums, dads, and teachers, and granddads, I know you're there. I love reading, writing from everybody. And here now are the writing rules. Go off and watch Mr Hublot. Enjoy him. Enjoy the whole film. The next thing I need you to do is choose a chunk. And when you've chosen a chunk, I challenge you to write 9 sentences and see within your 9, can you give me an embedded who clause in a sentence? Can you then also include some emotion? All sorts of emotion. I don't mind if it's positive or negative, but I want to feel a very emotional sentence. And the third thing I'm asking you to do is to drench a sentence in the same initial sounds. They're the writing challenges. You need to hand your work back to me on Facebook, into the training space, or on Twitter at Jane Considine. Make sure you use the hashtag Super Sentence Stackers, and your writing needs to come back to me by 12:30 so I have time to read it and make my choice of who is going to make it into the nation's story. I will then meet you in the reading room and do a roll call of the very best writers from today. Good luck. Take your time, everybody, and I'm on the lookout for the most vivid and engaging pieces. See you at 3:30.